On a record-breaking night in Chicago, one man turned the octagon into his personal dungeon. 20,000 fans roared inside the United Center, but by the time the final horn sounded, there was only silence and disbelief. At UFC 319, did Khamzat Chimaev deliver greatness or a grim warning for the sport itself? Chimaev mauled Dricus Du Plessis with relentless grappling, securing the middleweight title in dominant fashion. Yet, Dana White wasn't impressed, issuing a stern warning despite the $11 million gate. And then out of nowhere, another top contender stepped forward with a shocking challenge. If you were as stunned as I was, hit subscribe so you won't miss the next knockout moment. From the opening bell, the fight looked less like a championship clash and more like a grappling clinic. Chimaev wasted no time shooting for his first takedown, and when his hands locked around Du Plessis' waist, the South African fighter had no escape. He was dragged to the canvas, locked down, and smothered. It would become the template for the entire fight. By the end of the night, Chimaev had completed 12 of 17 takedown attempts, over and over. Du Plessis tried to build momentum only to be ripped back down. Each time he found a rhythm, Chimaev broke it in seconds. The crucifix position became his weapon of choice, pinning Du Plessis' arms wide as short punches and elbows rained down. To some fans, it looked less devastating than a highlight reel knockout, but for Du Plessis, it was psychological torture trapped, unable to defend, absorbing shot after shot while the clock ticked mercilessly down. Journalist Nolan King captured it perfectly on social media. Khamzat has him crucifixed. DDP is bucking. That tweet, blasted out to thousands in real time, summed up the entire spectacle. There was no back and forth drama, no striking war, only suffocating control. Dana White, at the post-fight press conference, gave voice to what many were thinking. Nobody wants to be in the crucifix and getting punched in the head like that. It's gotta be the most frustrating, set the heart and soul right out of you type thing to happen, he said. But then came the twist. While acknowledging Chimaev's dominance, White admitted he wasn't happy. Just getting dominated on the ground, the way that he did, is no fun for anybody, he explained. For the UFC president, entertainment matters just as much as results. Yet financially, UFC 319 was a triumph. With 20,023 fans in attendance, the event pulled in a record-breaking $11.05 million gate, the highest ever for the United Center. Chimaev may not have given the fans fireworks, but the numbers didn't lie. People paid to see him, and they got a demonstration of sheer dominance. For Du Plessis, the aftermath was brutal. His face was swollen, his body marked with welts from knees to the ribs, hips, and legs. Dana White didn't sugarcoat it. It's gonna be a long ride home to South Africa. Just a year ago, Du Plessis had been the division's rising hero, beating Israel Adesanya, Robert Whittaker, and Sean Strickland in back-to-back fashion. But against Chimaev, he was helpless. His stock, built on legendary wins, now looked fragile in the shadow of such a lopsided defeat. And then the story took another turn. Enter Sean Strickland, known as one of the UFC's most outspoken fighters. Strickland wasted no time calling out Chimaev after the fight. On X, he wrote, "I'm probably the only one in the UFC that can out-grapple that little expletive. For 5 rounds. You understand that I've done it on many occasions. On every occasion." He claimed that in the gym, Chimaev had just for minutes of relentless grappling before he would utterly break. The post lit up the MMA community, sparking heated debates across forums and social media. Experts weighed in quickly. Some analysts praised Chimaev, calling him the most dominant middleweight alive and declaring his performance a new benchmark for the division. Others pushed back, warning that fans don't want to watch 5 rounds of dry humping. As critics harshly put it online, the UFC thrives on knockouts, bloody wars, and highlight finishes. Chimaev had delivered suffocation instead. Could such a style truly carry him as a marketable champion? The division now stands at a crossroads. On one hand, Chimaev is undefeated, now crowned champion, and statistically unmatched in his grappling. On the other hand, Sean Strickland, already a former champion himself, has thrown gasoline on the fire by promising he's the one man who can stop the Chechen monster. Fans are already dreaming of the matchup, and Dana White must decide, is the UFC ready to book Chimaev versus Strickland as the next middleweight title fight? The record-breaking gate of $11. $5 million wasn't just a financial milestone, it was a statement about Chimaev's drawing power. Love him or hate him, fans are paying to see him, but with that popularity comes expectation. The UFC must balance Chimaev's dominance with the entertainment value that keeps fans coming back. That pressure may shape how he fights moving forward. Du Plessis' loss dramatically shifts the middleweight landscape. Once hailed as the man who toppled Adesanya and Whitaker, his aura of invincibility has been shattered. For him, the road back to title contention may be long, and the scars from UFC 319 could linger both physically and mentally. Fighters who looked unstoppable often find themselves humbled, and sometimes they never recover. Sean Strickland's call-out raises the stakes even higher. He's no stranger to controversy, and his willingness to speak openly about training sessions with Chimaev makes his challenge feel authentic. If the UFC books this fight, it won't just be about the belt, it'll be about settling a personal score. And for fans, that's the kind of storyline that sells pay-per-views and fills arenas. Chimaev's fighting style has now become his identity. He is not a flashy knockout artist, nor a crowd-pleasing brawler who thrives on wild exchanges. Instead, he is a suffocator, breaking opponents not with one punch, but with pressure, patience, and psychological warfare. It's a style that has historically divided fans, much like Khabib Nurmagomedov before him. Chimaev has proven that dominance doesn't always come with fireworks, but unlike Khabib, who captured the hearts of an entire region, Chimaev now carries the burden of proving his method can captivate fans across the globe. The debate over entertainment versus dominance is now louder than ever in the UFC. For the organization, the ideal champion is someone who both wins and excites. Chimaev clearly checks the first box. He is undefeated, technically brilliant, and now wears the belt. But the second box remains uncertain. While fans continue to pay record-setting prices to watch fights that end in suffocation rather than explosions, Dana White's warning wasn't just a critique. It was a reminder that every champion must carry the show as much as the belt. The ripple effects of UFC 319 will stretch far beyond one night in Chicago. Du Plessis must now rebuild his path, perhaps against fellow contenders looking to capitalize on his vulnerable moment. Sean Strickland has already staked his claim, and the online storm his comments created shows that the hunger for this clash is real. More importantly, the middleweight division suddenly feels alive again, not because Chimaev crushed Du Plessis, but because now the question of who can stop Borz has become the sport's biggest mystery. UFC 319 ended not with a bang, but with a stranglehold. Khamzat Chimaev walked out as champion. Dana White issued a warning as Sean Strickland lit the fuse for the next war. The question now echoes louder than ever: can anyone stop Borz? Or will his reign of suffocation smother the entire middleweight division? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and get ready. The hunt for the man who can dethrone Chimaev has just begun.